When the face of rallying changed, so did the look of the cars involved. This was the car that made the biggest leap forward in the entire history of the sport. The Lancia Stratos was first seen in 1973, to the absolute amazement of everyone involved in rallying. It was truly 10 years ahead of its time in both concept and performance. To maintain rallying's links with production cars, the International Automobile Federation insisted on 400 examples of any competing car being built. That, they thought, was a big enough number to deter anyone from building a car purely for competition. It didn't deter Lancia. They went ahead and built 400 examples of the Stratos and stood the entire sport on its head. The pure rally racers had arrived. Amazingly, the Stratos rally car which went into production bore no resemblance to any previous production or competition model. It was based on this highly futuristic concept car, which Italian styling and engineering specialist Bertone had unveiled purely as an attention-grabbing show car in 1970. To think of turning such a car into a World Championship rally competitor surely took a very special stroke of genius. The Stratos concept car had been powered by a Lancia engine, but initially the Stratos rally car had little more Lancia content than its badge. Bertone styled and built the car using various components sourced from the giant Fiat group, which owned Lancia, and equally as important to the project, Ferrari.
Bertone in this car, I would say that out of the show prototype of 1970, he developed in 1971 the real Stratos for Lancia. The Stratos was planned for be the rally car of Lancia for the future. And a new engine, a new Lancia engine also was planned for this car, an engine which never came out of Lancia. So to overtake this problem, Bertone in the same time, it was 72, 73, he was working on the Ferrari Dino 308, so he had plenty of Ferrari engine in his works. And one day he surprised Lancia people by showing a Stratos in driving condition. And they asked, what's the engine in that car? Don't worry, I had the Ferrari engine, they put the Ferrari engine inside. And out of this idea, which was an idea just for moving the car, Cesare Fiorio negotiated very well with the Ferrari at the time and convinced Ferrari to sell to Lancia few hundreds of their Ferrari engine, which at the time it was not so easy to accept Ferrari selling their engine, even to a company which was part of the Fiat group. So finally the car, the Lancia Stratos, was rallying with a Lancia emblem, but with the Ferrari engine.
Seen here in official Bertone library footage, the Lancia Stratos is a car of which the design company is justly proud. From their purely conceptual vehicle, they developed one of the great competition cars of all time. A car which won 3 World Rally Championships and which set the standard by which all its competitors were measured. With its short wheelbase and wide profile, along with the compact and powerful V6 Ferrari Dino engine, the Stratos was intended purely and simply for rally competition. But if you wanted to buy one for some public roads posing, then that was fine by Lancia management. If you wanted one so that you could contest national and international rallies, then so much the better. The car scored its debut win in the World Championship round at San Remo, Italy in 1973, and then just kept on winning. Other manufacturers were forced to raise their game to compete, and the Stratos was not totally invincible. For most of the mid-70s, however, few rivals got a look in. And even as late as 1980, after Fiat had won another world title with its Abarth 131, they still occasionally wheeled out a Stratos to do battle in events which suited its particular characteristics. Truly, the Stratos must be considered as one of the most significant rally cars of all time. This neat little car is the Renault R5 Turbo, a great favourite with members of the Group B car club and with many other sporting drivers who believe great things can come in small packages. In 1980, Renault was the first rival manufacturer to take a leaf out of the Lancia instruction book for success in rallying and build a special car primarily for competition use. Ostensibly, it was a competition version of the little R5 saloon Renault was selling by the thousand to drivers around the world who enjoyed a small, attractive car with nippy performance and economical running. The R5 Turbo utilised the normal car's engine block and a few other components as starting points in its design, but the resemblance to the little family car stopped right there. The Turbo, for example, had its engine where the rear seats of the standard model were to be found. And this engine was turbocharged to put out almost 150 horsepower, about double the output of the standard model. Finally, whereas the standard car was front-wheel drive, the R5 Turbo's engine drove the rear wheels, just like all serious competition cars of that time. The power-to-weight ratio of the Turbo was very high, and its acceleration was shattering for such a small car. From only a 1400cc four-cylinder engine, it could get from 0 to 100 miles an hour in just 11 seconds. No wonder it's so popular with the members of the Group B car club. The box-like aerodynamics of the little car kept top speed to around 130 miles an hour in standard trim, but it's suspected that the more powerful factory rally cars could top 140. Handling, particularly on narrow and twisting tarmac roads, was the car's strong point. It was almost as wide as it was long and had the pinpoint steering accuracy of a big go-kart. The R5 Turbo was on the market from 1980 to 1985, and it came in several versions offering different body trim. By 1980, the Renault factory was well into its hugely successful Formula One program, so the time and the budget spent on the R5 Turbo's World Championship rally involvement was minimal by the company's usual standards. Even so, the R5 Turbo made a real impact on international rallying. At the height of the Group B wars, running against the most powerful possible opposition, it scored outright wins in the two rallies which mean most to the French. The little Turbo won the Monte Carlo rally and took 2 victories in the Tour de Corse, accepted by all as the toughest tarmac rally on the World Championship calendar. In 1980, alongside the little Renault, came the next giant step in rally car technology, in the form of the 5-cylinder turbocharged 4-wheel drive Audi Quattro. Audi was an old name in the German industry, but it was relaunched in the 1970s on a worldwide basis as part of the VW family. The company's roots went back to the famous pre-war names of Auto Union and DKW, so innovation in technology was nothing new to them. These two brands have produced some of the world's most famous racing cars and motorcycles. The new Audi, however, had been launched with some rather mundane family saloons, and by the end of the 70s, company management had decided that a change of image was needed. Vorsprung durch Technik, progress through technology, was the Audi slogan, and the Audi Quattro represented true Vorsprung in the world of rally competition. It was as significant to rally car development as the Lancia Stratos had been 7 years earlier. Rival manufacturers had initially been sceptical about 4-wheel drive's advantages in rallying, thinking it too weighty and too complicated. The Quattro soon made believers of them. It won the first rally it ever contested, the Austrian round of the European Championship, only 2 weeks into the 1981 season. Then, in what was essentially the car's development year, Hannu Mikkola won World Championship rounds in both Sweden and Great Britain. Obviously, much of the focus of the 1982 World Championship season was going to be upon the Audi effort. Even more so because one of their best chances of taking the title was the attractive all-woman team of Michèle Mouton and Fabrizia Pons. The dark-eyed Frenchwoman had already proved herself the equal of any male rivals by winning the San Remo round of the World Championship in 1981, the first ever such victory by a woman. Michèle is still the only female to win a World Championship motorsports event of any description. Other team drivers were Flying Finn Hannu Mikkola and on a limited event programme the speedy Swede Stig Blomqvist. But even before the end of the 1982 season, Michèle had outscored these formidable teammates in terms of both wins and places.